Sorry.
On the hop.
I'm sorry.
I suppose.
Oh, you don't mind taking it now, do you?
No.
Okay,
I'm
sorry about that.
I suppose I feel a little inadequate maybe in taking an issue of this particular nature in the immediate aftermath of something, dealing with a crisis such as that we've just heard in terms of animal fodder and animal welfare. However, I suppose we've also agreed with the Minister for Heritage that heritage and cultural issues really need to be at the heart of the national recovery, which we're all working towards. So I suppose to that extent, maybe I shouldn't feel so unhappy about raising the issue of the Croppies Acre. And as the Minister for State opposite will be aware, the Croppies Acre is a very well-known site, located in central Dublin, close to the National Museum and Collins Barracks, close also to the Euston Station and to the Lewis Station. And we know that back in 2011 some significant monies were expended by the OPW in renovating the site. There had been some controversy that this particular site should in fact be developed as a bus park and a car park for the National Museum, which would have been quite a travesty in fact if that had happened. And in fact I think at the time something of the order of 35 to 40,000 of public monies was expended in developing and preserving this pretty unique site. Unique because it houses the burial place of many members of the 1798 rebellion. People like Matthew Tone is reputed to be buried there, as was the other leader, Bartholomew Teeling. Don't know if he's any relation of the Teeling Whiskies people, but he was certainly very prominent in that particular rising. So we know now, that because of public misuse, or misuse by a tiny section of the public, the finding in this location of syringes, of other paraphernalia relating to the drugs trade, the fact that it's a location for antisocial behaviour, the fact that people are climbing into the site and drinking there, that it's no longer open to the public, and that it has effectively, this national site, this national monument, has in fact been locked up by the OPW because they do not have available to them at the present time, they say, the monies that are required, the very small monies I imagine, that are required to keep this site clean, number one, so that it can be safely accessed by the public, and then that normal public access can be restored. So without delaying the House unduly, can I ask the Minister, standing in for Minister Deenahan, and I welcome Minister Hayes, Minister State Hayes here, can I ask that some sort of priority be given to this, I suppose, relatively minor issue, but an issue well capable of being solved, I would suggest, by the government, and that it be given some priority and be dealt with forthwith, and that the site be open again to Dubliners and to people of the country as a whole.
Thank you, Minister.
Well, I'm glad to say to the Deputy that this is an issue exclusively with the Office of Public Works, and he shouldn't feel any sense of apology in raising the matter here in the House. It's an important issue, not least because of the historical connection that exists there, but also because of its location. It's on a major thoroughfare along the Liffey into town. Hundreds of thousands of cars pass by it. It's also very close to the National Museum and Collins Barracks, so it's a very important tourist location as well. So he's right to raise this issue and put me in the Office of Public Works under as much pressure as he possibly can to resolve this issue, and he should make no apologies for that whatsoever. Last quarter, the area known as Croppies Acre lies between the National Museum at Collins Barracks and the River Liffey. It's enclosed by walls and has access gates. The area is managed by the Commissioners of Public Works, whose staff maintain the grounds, cut the grass, etc. Croppies Acre has been susceptible to antisocial behaviour for quite some time. The walls are quite easily scaled in certain parts, and the grounds are frequented by drug users and junkies and people who are abusing alcohol generally during the hours of darkness, and especially on weekends. The grounds had been opened to the general public by the Office of Public Works, usually from 9:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday to Saturday. In fact, in line with the openings of the hours of the museum right beside it. However, it was becoming increasingly common for the OPW to discover used syringes, among other rubbish discarded on the preceding night. In consequence, a decision was taken in May 2011 to close the area to the public on health and safety grounds. Sufficient resources are just not available to the OPW to sterilise the entire area each day, or indeed every day, before opening the gates and inviting the public to enter. And the Commissioners, quite reasonably, were not prepared to accept the risk of, say, a child picking up a discarded needle with possible disastrous consequences for that kid's health. It was with great reluctance that the Commissioners decided to close Croppies Acre, and they've been exploring ways of reopening this small park for quite some time. Discussions are ongoing with Dublin City Council in this regard, and I will be hopeful that the park can be reopened to the public in the not too distant future under the management of the Council. In conclusion, I'd like to correct recent media reports which stated that the Croppies Acre Park contained the Anna Livia fountain and sculpture, which was originally located on O'Connell Street. This monument is now sited in an area nearby, but outside the Croppies Acre grounds, and it's not under the management or indeed control of the Commissioners of Public Works. The monument is still accessible to the public. So I want to say to the Deputy, it's my intention, and all our intentions between the Office of Public Works and Dublin City Council, to see if we can reopen this small park as soon as possible. I think logically the management should lie within Dublin City Council. We are having discussions with Dublin City Council, and I very much hope that the fact that you have put this on the agenda of this House today and have raised it in this public forum will ensure that some common sense and some solution can be found between the Office of Public Works and Dublin City Council, and we look forward to that meeting very shortly.
Well, I want to thank the Minister for clarifying the position. Sure, Dubliners would be delighted to be reminded as well that the floozy and the jacuzzi is located, I think, outside the Ashling Hotel rather than in the grounds of the particular park. There was some concern in the past, I think, that perhaps this small park should form part of the overall museum complex and should be integrated with that. But obviously the government of the day and the OPW have decided to go down the road of talking with Dublin City Council. Fair enough, I accept that, but I'm also aware that Dublin Minister sitting beside you will be well used to councils across the country telling him that they are strapped for cash, that they have great difficulties in funding the operations that they have currently, not to mention the taking on board of additional responsibilities. So in saying to us here today that you've referred this particular matter to Dublin City Council, what sort of assurances can you give us that there is a likelihood the Dublin City Council will in fact take responsibility for this site, clean up the appalling mess? I agree with you that it's completely unacceptable that hypodermic syringes and needles and so on would need to be cleaned from this site on a regular basis. In fact, we would all, I think, make an appeal to those people who are irresponsible users of this particular facility not to do so. But given that they are, what sort of assurances can you give us that the funding will be available to Dublin City Council to get on with the job and to take this on board?
Thank you. Minister.
Clearly we're looking at this issue very closely at the moment. What I said in my script to the Deputy is that I hope this issue is resolved in the not too distant future and that we can work up some flexible arrangement with Dublin City Council. I mean, we are in the parks business in relation to our own properties, such as Phoenix Park, St Stephen's Green and many of the other national historic properties that fall under the responsibility of the Office of Public Works. We're not really in the business of neighbourhood parks, or indeed parks which are, generally speaking, not attached to national historic property sites or national monuments. Now, because of the proximity of this very important historical site to the National Museum, we've got to work up a solution, and I think he put his finger on it entirely. You know, this is an important historical site. It is right beside the museum. It's important for tourists as a kind of an overspill area as well. But people need to feel some semblance of safety walking around it during the day or indeed in early evening, particularly over the summer. And I hope we can work up a flexible arrangement with the City Council to resolve this issue. I've given a commitment in the not too distant future, and he can hold me to that in the not too distant future.
Thank you. Thank you, Minister. Now, we'll go